My name is Alvin, and I'm a PM here working on reliability for AKS. So during the last year, we've been really focusing at AKS on upgrades, seriously on enhancing the experience and reducing complexity by upgrading your environments. And so when we looked at these complexities, we really looked at it from three pillars. The three main pillars are keeping your cluster in a supported state, whether through auto upgrades or other approaches, keeping upgrade success high, or keeping disruptions to workloads at a minimum. So we're going to look at each of these pillars one by one and how we took different focuses to achieve these. So let's start with the first one, staying within the supported K8s version. So as many of you know, we follow the N-2 policy here at AKS, which means we only support 3 GA minor versions at a time. And this kind of follows with the upstream, where Kubernetes releases 3 upstream minor versions a year. And so because of this, it kind of leads to a really rapid release for us, as within a year, about 12 months, you're going to have to switch to a new version because of the support of AKS. And so that really created 3 main challenges for us. The need to help with automating upgrades, the ability to stay within a version for beyond the 12 months of support while still getting support, and the need for awareness of what changes are coming in the new version so you can be prepared and take the right actions at the right time. And so when we looked at that, we created with 3 main focuses for this: automated upgrade frameworks, long-term support for AKS, and improving awareness and ability to act timely. So let's start with the first focus that we had, automated upgrades. So this is something that we've already had in AKS for a while as a GA feature, but we're really building to expand on it. And we really want this to be a set and forget mechanism for you so that you can leave it to us to upgrade your clusters at a healthy and fast pace. And also give you the flexibility to choose the cadence and upgrade mechanism to suit the needs that you have. And so let's talk about what we currently do have. We have the auto upgrade channel, which currently has 4 options available. Patch, which means in the minor version you specify, we'll keep you on the latest patch version. We recommend this one. Stable, which means we'll always keep you at the N-1 minor version with the latest patch release. And rapid, which means we'll keep you on the latest N version, minor version, with the latest patch release. Additionally, we have the node image channel, which actually doesn't touch K8s upgrades and focuses on the node images that you have and making sure that they're updated on a weekly basis. And now, going back to that, that is a little confusing because that doesn't really feel like it's part of the auto upgrade for K8s. We'll talk about how we're going to approach that and the decoupling of it in a few slides. But this next slide shows how this looks like in Portal. So in Portal now, starting now, patch will be the default when you create a new cluster in AKS. You can obviously turn it off, but we highly recommend patch, as patch is a very safe upgrade generally. Also, one other note is when you do an upgrade at all in the portal, we will tell you when of all the deprecated APIs so that you can make sure that you're not using any of them. As some of you may know, Kubernetes loves deprecating APIs fairly rapidly, and so it's always good to be aware of what is being deprecated at what time. Now let's talk about this other upgrade channel that I mentioned. So we are in preview for this feature, but it's the Node OS auto upgrade channel. And this essentially decouples the node image channel from the previous into here. And that allows you to basically both have your K8s and your node images being upgraded automatically by AKS. So the 3 channels available are unmanaged, security patch, and node image. For unmanaged, this is similar to what we're doing right now, where if you're running Ubuntu, you'll get unintended updates almost daily from Canonical and Ubuntu. And then security patch and node image are the ones where AKS will take in and fix those, and taking those patches ourselves into our VHDs and put it on the image and update on a regular basis. So security patch will only be security level fixes, whereas node image will have both security and bug fixes. And so this is currently in preview and will be GA very soon, and this is how we're decoupling the node image channel of the auto upgrade channel into its own. Now, a big thing we've heard with auto upgrades is it's too dangerous because it could run when your workload is at its peak and you don't want any disruption. And so we are also close to GAing plant maintenance. And so with plant maintenance, you'll have the flexibility to stay within N-2 using the auto upgrade channel and still receive by controlling the regular maintenance windows that you have. So there's a variety of scheduling options. You can do a set of weekly options. You can do absolute monthly, which means you choose the exact date in the month that you want an upgrade, or relative monthly, which means you just choose a day of the week. So like, let's say you want to do Monday or Friday. You also have not allowed dates, which is great. So if there's a holiday period coming up and you expect higher loads, you can block any upgrades at all during that time. Now, even with all this features for upgrades, let's say you still have some things that cause you to not be able to keep up with the N-2 policy. Well, today we're announcing platform support policy will come for all AKS clusters. And what platform support is when you hit N-3, let's say you don't want to upgrade to N-2, you will still receive a reduced support plan for Azure infrastructure. What that means is we're not going to provide you with fixes for Kubernetes functionality and components, as that is done by Kubernetes upstream, but we will provide you help with anything related to the Azure infrastructure for N-3. One caveat to this is you won't be able to create new clusters on an N-3 version or new node pools in clusters that already exist, but you can always scale up the node pools that you already have to fit the needs until you're ready to upgrade to N-2. With this announcement of platform support and N-3, we're also introducing AKS initiated upgrades soon. And so with AKS initiated upgrades, when a cluster is in N-3 version and about to be N-4 once the latest GA minor version comes up, we will automatically upgrade the cluster to N-2 for you, so that even when the new minor version GAs and it goes to N-3 again, it will still retain the platform support policy. There's nothing you need to do to turn on platform support. It will come fully as soon as you enter N-3. There's no need to set a setting or anything like that. It's just provided by us. And we talked a lot about this, as George mentioned earlier, but today we officially announced long-term support for AKS. So let's say you want to be N-3 or even N-4, but you want that support policy still. Well, we're announcing that we're investing in the upstream community even more than we already have and leading the way for an LTS version of a minor version. And so what we will do here is we will maintain and patch the LTS version past community support to make sure that you're able to stay on it for a longer time. What we'll be doing is from the regular 12 months that you get, you'll be getting 24 months with this. And we will only support one minor version at a time with LTS, with 1.27 being the first ones. And this will be completely built in the open with Kubernetes LTS. And we're trying to revive essentially the working group long-term support that existed in the past. And so anyone can help to contribute in this repo above in the GitHub. And this will be available in the base queue at a new tier. Currently, we have AKS free and AKS standard and AKS free, and we'll be introducing AKS premium tier for where you can get LTS. And the third focus for us is just to improve the awareness and ability to act timely. We want you guys to know exactly what's coming up. And so some of the things that we have on the docket is doc improvements, which means you'll be able to track the AKS version and which AKS add-ons and AKS component changes happen at each version level. So you'll be able to know exactly what you're getting with each upgrade on the docs. Event grid enhancements as well, so that you can have more upgrade-related events. So if you're connected to Event Grid, you can have some automated processes that's connected to those events. And finally, release tracker. For those of you that don't know, we actually currently have a release tracker already that tells you which region which AKS release each region of Azure is on. And we're going to add more to this with visuals for AKS managed add-on releases and weekly node image updates soon as well. And in the long-term roadmap for us, we have an upgrade list API where we'll be documenting all these changes, so all in one place in an easy access experience through the API. So you can just send an upgrade list call in the CLI, and you'll be able to get all the changes in that related to that version. All right, so that's pillar one. Now let's talk about pillar two. So for pillar two, there's quite a few areas that we're looking at when we're looking at what was causing success rate not to be high for some customers. And some of the main ones are, quota, subnet full, PDB issues, or just nodes being blocked due to drain timeout because the new pods didn't come up in time before the old ones had to be drained. And so with this, there's a lot of uncertainty, with, is my cluster gonna make it through this upgrade before you started it? And so on top of that, it was also abstracted. You couldn't really see into exactly where in the process the upgrade was during the operation. And so this led to some issues for us. And so there were two main focuses. One is pre-flight checks before the upgrade, and the next is improving the observability and actionability during the upgrade as well. So first, for pre-flight checks, we really wanted to flag as many upfront errors as possible before upgrading to empower you to take the right actions to power your insights. And so we wanted to take this from a two-pronged approach. The first one is Azure Portal. So we're empowering you to do more by providing more information in the diagnose and solve blade here, such as, hey, your podnet subnet may be full, or you might be using a VM that's restricted, as well as other features coming up, as well as working with Azure Advisor team to add more recommendations for you to make sure that you don't hit this. On top of that, when the upgrade operation runs now, we'll be doing these checks for quotas, subnet, PDB misconfigurations before the operation even starts so that your cluster is safe from any failed upgrades before we start the operation. And these are just a small list of all the things we're continuing to work on. In the roadmap ahead, we have configurable node drain timeouts. As I mentioned earlier, the current default is 30 minutes. And so if you have a pod or image that takes longer than 30 minutes to pull or start up, you're going to run into this quite often. And so with this, we'll allow you to configure your timeout to fit the pod's uptime or the pod start time that you need to make your workloads function properly, as well as adding more scenarios during the pre-check. So the pre-flight check is something we're always continuing to improve, and we'll always be adding more to it. And finally, dry runs. So we're going to attempt to simulate an upgrade without actually running an upgrade to find out more errors and recommendations for you before you initiate your upgrade as well. Now, for improving the observability and actionability during upgrade, we really want to take actions to make sure that that success rate stays high, and also empower you to change things as needed before and or during and after an upgrade. And so how are we doing that? So what we have in GA right now is abort a long-running operation. And so currently you can abort an operation on a node pool or a cluster. One caveat about this is it is an in-place cancellation. And so your provisioning state for your resource will be in cancel state. And let's say you're upgrading, if it's half upgraded, half your nodes will be upgraded and half will not. And so that is some caveat there. It is not just a rollback, it is purely an abort and cancel. But that will allow you to run other operations on your cluster after that. In the roadmap to fix that, we have control plane rollbacks, which will allow you to go back to the state you were in before upgrading. And that will help with pairing the abort and upgrade rollback feature to really make sure that even if your upgrade fails in the middle or you can't upgrade anymore, you can always get back to a state that's functional for you. On top of that, we're really trying to consolidate our upgrade logging. Currently, there's quite a few tools out there to really see what's going on with your upgrades. We want to put in a one-stop experience, so do definitely look out for that as we work on how that consolidated upgrade logging is going to look like. For upgrade groups, we're working in collaboration with Azure Fleet Manager to work on this. So what upgrade groups will look like is you'll be able to set this as your dev groups of clusters, this as your staging group, and this as your production group. And we'll always make sure to upgrade all your dev clusters first before we upgrade your staging, before we upgrade your production clusters. And this will allow you to take even more actionability into how you upgrade your clusters. So by the time it reaches production, you're fully sure and secure that these clusters will be running after the upgrade successfully. And finally, we're going to try to cordon block nodes, but continue the upgrade. So one of the issues that we mentioned is currently if you cordon and then drain a node, but the node is not drainable because the new pods aren't running yet due to some PDB or something, we just end the operation right there. However, there are times where we can leave that node, wait longer until it's ready to drain, and continue the rest of the upgrade and just leave the nodes in an unscheduled state so that it's just sitting there cordon, but it doesn't affect the rest of the upgrade. Because in the reality, besides having an extra node up that's unschedulable, the workloads itself will not be hurt by this change. And that's pillar 2. So this is the last pillar, which is to keep disruptions to a minimal. And so at the end of the day, Kubernetes is a platform infrastructure, which means even though we're providing a service here, many of you are providing your own service or workload on top of it that needs to be running at all times. And so minimizing workload disruption is a key for all of you. And with that, we realized that there was quite a few things that was affecting it. Deprecated upstream Kubernetes APIs was one of the ones we heard commonly. And also node and pod readiness, especially during the upgrade scenario. So we really looked at it from 2 ways. One is API server detections. How can we better detect what's going on with your workload so that we can know whether upgrades would affect you? And 2, prioritizing workload availability at the node level for you. And so that you can make sure that you can trust that your nodes are always going to be running. And so for this first one, what we've already done is we've stopped upgrades automatically on deprecated APIs right now in the operation. And so as soon as the upgrade operation starts, we're going to look through and see if you're running any APIs that are breaking. And if you are, we will let you know you cannot do this. Please note that this is only for versions 1.26 and above. You must be using the Preview API 2023-0102 preview. However, with this, you might be wondering, oh, what if I don't care about this API breaking change and I want to upgrade anyways? Well, we'll give you an option to bypass as well, which we'll show you in the demo that's going to happen at the end of this. The recommendation for this is to set it under 10 minutes because at the end of the day, AKS uses a put model, so anything you set in your put, it will stay like that until you get rid of it, or in this case, until the override timeline is changed. And so if you set it for 3 days and someone else runs the upgrade during those 3 days, they will also have this override feature active. And so that is why we always recommend 10 minutes or for the time that you're going to be running the upgrade yourself. And to run this, you'll need CLI version 0.5.134. But, you can also do this yourself now, starting with 1.26 in the API server detections page. And so in the diagnose and solve blade, under known issues, availability and performance, we added a new tab called Kubernetes API deprecation, where it will go and look at the logs and see if you have any APIs. As you can see here, there are 2 APIs that were removed that we're using in this example. And now we know before you even start the upgrade, before you even hit the other feature that we're worked on, in the portal you'll be able to know already. And this is just one of the many enhancements that we're working to add more detections of all kinds, such as this API breaking change into portal on top of into our operation itself. And in the roadmap for us, we also have upgrade with metrics coming up. So we're gonna allow you to set the metrics that you require to upgrade. And so what that means is you require all nodes, X amount of nodes to be ready before you can continue to upgrade, or X amount of pods in this deployment before you're ready to continue. And this will allow you to take even further control of your upgrades to make sure that the workload disruptions are at a minimum. And on top of that, we're also working on a blue-green strategy for upgrades at the node pool level. And how that's gonna work is we're gonna spin up a green node pool for you and only drain the blue node pool once the green is up and running. And we'll provide you a bunch of different levers to define the success criteria for when we can start draining the blue workloads. And that will allow you to essentially fully control and have almost zero risk attached to your workloads, as they will always be running on the blue until the green is ready to go. And with that, I know I talked about a bunch of features in a really quick time, so I'm gonna go and run a demo to show you exactly what that looks like. Or it's just some of the features that we talked about today. So actually you can see here, we have a cluster at 1.25.5, and in this node pool, we're running 20 nodes currently. And in these 20 nodes, we're actually running a deployment that we'll show you real quick. A deployment of an app called Server Loader, which is essentially just a basic app that sends a lot of requests. And in this, we're gonna have 1 pod per node as the infinity. And so that means that we're gonna have 20 pods on 20 different nodes. And so let's take a quick look at what exactly this app is doing, just so you have a context for this. So as you can see, the app is running here, and we're gonna go on GitHub. And here in GitHub, you see that it's actually exposing Prometheus metrics. As Ali mentioned earlier, Managed Prometheus is a new preview service that is live in Azure right now. And we'll be using Managed Prometheus with Grafana today to show you. And as you can see here in this cluster, it's currently running healthily with 20 nodes, with all the pods are in the cluster running, including the system add-ons. And the request per second is hovering around 20,000. And so with that, we're gonna start the upgrade process and show you what that looks like. So we're gonna run this, click yes to perform this operation. You can also dash Y to skip these questionnaires, but good to show you what it looks like. As you can see, oh no, it failed. And why did it fail? Because we detected a broken API that in 1.26 that is currently being ran in this 1.25 cluster. And so in this case, it's something that we don't want to happen, and so we will want a way to override it. And I'll show you that override, but before that, I wanted to quickly show you what that looks like in Portal. As I mentioned earlier, we do have this detection in Portal as well now. So if you take a look here, we're going to go into Kubernetes API deprecations. And it's going to generate this report that's essentially going to tell you exactly what's going on here. And boom, we detected the same exact priority level configurators in flow control API that is going to be broken. And so now let's show you how to override it, right? So right now it's 8:34 UTC time. And so we're going to take this command here, copy it down, and we're going to set it to about 6 minutes after. So we're going to set it to 8:40 UTC time. And then we're going to send this into the command and update our cluster. So while we're updating the cluster, we're also going to show you some other configurations that you can do. You can set PDBs on your workloads to make sure that you always have the minimum amount of pods to get your workload running at a satisfactory level. Another thing you can do to really control your upgrade, if we take a look at the cluster itself and in the node pool, is you can set the max surge. So the current max surge, and what max surge means is just how many nodes you can surge at a time to upgrade. And so typically our default is 1 node at a time, but you can always set this up faster, or if you want, you can do it, just keep it at 1 node. In this case, as you can see here, we have it set to 10%, which means we're gonna do it 2 nodes at a time for the purpose of this upgrade. And so with that, should be done running this command any second now. And boom, there we go. And as you can see already, it says until, so we're gonna pull it up and show you the full setting that's overridden. We have the ignore Kubernetes deprecation, and with the until of 8:40 UTC time, 8:40 p.m., so 2040. And now let's run the upgrade again. And so we're going to switch over to the Grafana tab now as we're starting to run this upgrade to show you what that looks like as the upgrade starts. And we're going to really fast forward it as upgrades take a long time. Then we'll slow it down to the end to show you just how long the runtime takes. But as you can see here, you're seeing that node surge up and down, up and down. As you can see now in real time, it's going much slower. And so we're just going to jump right to the very end here, after showing you that, to what happens when you have the succeeded upgrade. As you can see here, it's now in 1.26, and it has the enabled with patch, which we recommend set to default for auto upgrade. And so as you can see, you can set it back to disable, but we do recommend enable with patch. And the final thing we wanted to show is the plant maintenance feature. So in this case, Contoso realized that Fridays don't get a lot, so they want to set it to Fridays. So in this one in particular, this configuration that they have, what they have is a duration of 8 hours, which means the window is only open for 8 hours for the relatively monthly. Ooh, the cursor is blocking it right now, but that does say Friday for the day of the week, which means it has to be a Friday. Week index is last, so the last Friday of every month. And interval of months means 2, so every other month. And so what this full thing is saying is the last Friday of every other month, you can run an upgrade. Oh, it restarted, so we're going to jump all the way back. Okay, looks like it does not want to jump all the way back to the end. So I'm just going to tell you what you see at the very end. So there's only 3 more settings on the very end. One is the start time, which is essentially just a time in your time zone that you can set when you want that window to start. And so in that case, it says 0000, which means just 12 a.m. And then you also have a UTC offset, which is essentially just a time zone. And so you can set it to your time zone and set it to 12 a.m. and it will run from 12 to 8, the maintenance window of when an auto upgrade can occur. And we will follow that. And so that plan maintenance window is available for both Node OS upgrades and auto upgrades. So with that said, that's pretty much it for the upgrade experience that we have planned. As you can see, there's a lot of features that we've already done and a lot on the roadmap. So if you have any questions about upgrades or general reliability with AKS, do feel free to reach out to me. I'll be here for the rest of today as well as at the booth for MOSA KubeCon. So thank you, everyone, and I look forward to meeting you all.